It's Linda MacPhee's workshop. Here's Linda.
Fooled you. I'm the model today as well, but I couldn't resist doing this because this coat is so special and I just love the feel of it. But helping me, Joan is here, my friend Joan, who I rely on all the time. A person needs somebody you can ask questions of that will give you the honest answer, and Joan is that person.
Thank you, Linda.
That's great. So what do you think of the new coat?
I love it. I want to touch it.
I want to touch it.
Get in it. Yes.
So this is the fabric called Minke, and it's very plushy, furry, fun kind of fabric.
For lining.
So I said lining. Wouldn't it be a wonderful lining? But then, do you want to help me
Sure,
with this?
of course I can.
You could actually then pull it inside out because we said, you know, so often when you line something, you might just as well make it reversible.
Exactly.
And if you make it reversible, you've got a whole different coat. So here is...
You would never only have something work one way.
Well, my mind does seem to go that way.
That's
that I think,
right.
well, let's see how else we can do this and make detachable or whatever. But here is the other side. And
You'll be
petted. You want to just pet me?
I do.
Okay, let's see what else we could make from this fabric, because I thought coat is good fun. But I know both of you and I we're not expecting babies, but our babies are expecting babies.
That's right.
So we're going to be grandparents. And I thought this is a nice project for a prospective, your daughter-in-law, my daughter-in-law.
Perfect. Yes.
Because there's so many bright, wonderful cottons out there. And quilts, sometimes people get intimidated. I can't make a quilt. I'm not a quilter. And I said, you don't have to be anything. You just have to know how to sew a straight line. And you have to have a sewing machine. So get a sewing machine, go out to the garage if it's out there, dust it off, go to one of the sewing stores, find a sewing machine, and sew a bunch of squares together. So I think it's kind of fun to just say, whatever kind of squares you want.
And whatever color.
And we made here, and this is the Minke, and you'll just
it's so inviting.
It is so inviting, it is. So I said, well, let's put a few of those in, because if we put this on the floor and the baby's on it, they could rub on this part. Right. This is the bright, they're stimulated by black and white for sure, and colors. And I mean, this should be, they might just get really skitsy on this one. They might
It will take them through their growth development, because from black and white to color.
Yes.
And then your textures that you're having them feel.
So what we did is we put all these together, so you put right sides together. I mean, this is sort of no-brainer. Sew a row, sew another row, sew another row, sew the rows together, and it doesn't really matter what goes.
Doesn't take long.
But we said, well, if you want to finish it off, where's the little portion that's
here?
Here it is. So to finish it off, because it's going to be on the floor, or this is where babies go, I thought, well, let's put some Insul Bright in there, and that's the insulating poofy stuff that kind of gives it some oomph, and it also protects, keeps it warm. Yeah. So we put that in, and then we cut a piece of this, one solid piece, big enough so that it could wrap around.
Right.
So it just wraps around. You could get fancy with mitered corners, but we thought, you don't have to fuss with that. That's kind of quiltish, and there's nothing wrong with it. But for the beginner, let's just flip it up and flip it over and top stitch it.
And I noticed, too, that we've zigzagged around the edge here just to hold it.
Yeah.
So there's no finishing of the edge. You don't have to turn it
this is the back, this is the front. We did quilt, and that means top stitch, through some of this, just to sort of keep it
all together,
so that it kind of stays together. So you wouldn't have to do them all, you could just do some.
Right.
And basically the trick there is to put a bunch of pins so that, nothing shifts around.
Would be very quick.
It'd be very quick and very cuddly. And I think there's something so special about Mom made it or Grandma made it. It's something that nobody else has.
And it's easy to roll up and stick in the trunk of your car.
Sure.
To just take somewhere quickly.
Washable.
Yeah.
Make sure that you probably wash this, not this, but the cottons first. Although if they do shrink up a little bit, it becomes a little more poofy, and that's okay too. Then the new one.
I keep feeling this, and I'm thinking,
is absolutely brand new on the market, and it's double. So that means that it's fluffy on this side and fluffy on this side too. So if you wanted to make the simplest baby quilt, I mean, basically just cut this out, applique name or whatever on this, turn this edge and top stitch it, and we were talking done.
Oh. So, I have to have one of these. I think I have to go home with some of this today.
Some of this, or house coat.
Yes.
Could you think something like that? The possibilities go on and on.
Endless.
Endless. As usual. So thank you so much for helping me, and don't you go away, because we've got more good stuff coming. meet the most interesting people on my journeys. And we just showed you how to make a quilt, a very simple quilt that anybody, new mothers, non-sewers, anybody could be making this. But then we're going to take you from that to the most exquisite, intricate quilts. And the person that makes them is Aie Rossman. So welcome to the show.
Hi, Linda.
So how did you begin, or how did you become a quilter?
I happened to walk into a quilt shop, and I liked a quilt, and I wanted to make that. And I took a beginner's class.
Had you ever sewn before that?
Not really.
No?
No.
Did you have a sewing machine?
I did have one when I was a teenager.
Okay.
My mom let me try out a few things, but I was never a good sewer.
Seems to me I met your mother-in-law, and I remember her coming and talking to me and saying she had a new daughter-in-law, and she was going to lend you the machine to see if she could get, and that's what she did, didn't she?
Yes.
Isn't that good?
I actually borrowed her sewing machine for the first number of years.
Yes, wonderful. So really, how many years have you been doing this?
About 7 years now. Yeah.
7 years. You walked in blank into a store. It happened to be a quilt store. And you said, I want to do this. And now you have written the book. So that is good. I think that is excellent. Just well done, well done. The other inspiration that you gave me a clue of is how do you, what helps you to design this kind of stuff? I mean, is it just all in your head? Is it?
It's, yes, all in my head, and I have a degree in architecture, so I can sketch.
So you've
well.
been sketching.
I've been sketching, yes.
And I don't see any buildings, but you could do buildings. You've done real buildings.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
But now you've got wonderful things to put in these buildings, for sure. So you're kind of retired from the architecture.
Yes.
And a mother and busy everybody.
Yes,
but
I'm a full-time mother and a quilter.
Yes, lovely. Okay, when I was at the trade show and met you, this book was featured, and I have to say, here is the quilt that I thought was just outstanding. I mean, it's just amazing. I said, I can't even describe it, it's just so beautiful. But in this book, you have then described and put for each block. And what a wonderful... It looks like a coloring book, isn't it? It could be a coloring book. And basically that's what quilting is, isn't it?
I would say so, yes.
Yeah, like you're
just
coloring.
Play with fabric.
You're coloring it with fabric instead of coloring it with your crayons. So the American quilt, what was it? Here we go, just a minute. I have this. This is the American Quilter Society, was where I saw you, and it was located. It says located in Paducah, Kentucky. The American Quilter Society, AQS, is dedicated to promoting the accomplishments of today's quilters. Through its publications and events, AQS strives to honor today's quilt makers and their work, and to inspire future creativity and innovation in quilt making. That's a very good. That's wonderful. So that's who's published the book, and that's. You're associated with them in that way, for sure. Shall we take a look at the big... You've made big quilts, you've made little quilts, you've made... It's amazing. So let's have a look at this. Do you want to describe what this is?
That was made for a Block of the Month club. And each block is a square.
Block.
Yes. Yeah. You're given a month to make that block. So there are 9 blocks in the middle. Okay. And then there is a border. The border was challenging because you have 4 strips. And
yes.
It would, even though it's supposed to be done in a month, it would take more than a month to make the border.
Yes, I can imagine. This is a big project. And if you look at it closely, it is all hand appliqué. These are all turned under, hand appliqué, hand quilted, hand. It's just magnificent. It's just magnificent. So let's carry on. This is a beautiful, you can tell I like color. This kind of matches my color. I love bright colors. How did you get the inspiration for this?
When I made this quilt, I had insomnia and I couldn't sleep. So I would get up in the middle of the night and start appliquing these flowers. And when I finished the block, I put it together. And I actually made this whole quilt in 6 weeks. And I named it Insomnia.
Insomnia, yeah. I mean, this is brilliant, and I would think there are probably lots of other people with insomnia. So don't fight it; just go with it. I mean, what a wonderful thing to do. And this is all hand appliqué again. So let me take this one, and we'll look at the next one. We have a whole nice bunch. So what's the story here?
This quilt has a block that's repeated 4 times.
Right.
And then in the center I have a heart motif. And each block has a set of flowers that look like bells. So this quilt was named Carillon.
Oh, right.
And this quilt was machine appliqué.
Yes, I see that you've done.
And,
So do you prefer hand or machine, or do you do both?
I do both. I like handwork a lot, but I have very limited time nowadays, so,
yes, so
I have to start using
and certainly the free motion is well done here, and quilting around there. Lovely. Okay. Let's go to this one. Oh, I see. There's faces here. It's a zodiac. Is that what it is?
Yes, it is. It's got the 12 signs of the zodiac, and this center block is supposed to be the spinning star. And this was machine appliqué and machine quilted.
And if we can even get some close-ups here, you can see some really interesting machine stitching. I mean, that really does. It's not just plain zigzag. It's
these are decorative stitches for my sewing machine.
Lovely. Well done. And I like the freedom along here. I mean, there is a design and a pattern, but just beautifully done. Was this variegated thread? Is that how you get this?
Yes.
Nicely done. How do you choose fabrics? Does the fabric inspire the quilt, or do you come up with the design first, or how does this all happen?
I would come up with the design first, and then I would look for fabric.
Okay, and you must just have quite a collection of fabric.
I do.
But you have to. I mean, that's part of the game. You have to have lots of fabric, just as you would have to have lots of crayons or paints to do this. So,
that's right.
Sure. Okay, and what's the story on this one?
This was my very first attempt to design. This quilt was called Lotus in Moonlight. This has the traditional Burmese lotus design, and then there's a moon in the back, and I used zigzag stitching. Actually, it's very, very close zigzag.
And then free motion as well.
Free motion quilting.
Yes, lovely. So you've incorporated some of your Burmese heritage into this. This is wonderful. Okay, and this one?
This one is called Laurel. It's hand appliqué and hand quilted. And I did the center block first, and then I found this
really? I would have thought you started here and went in, but you say you did this first, and then you found it. I mean, that really is...
I was lucky.
Lucky, very lucky. That is wonderful, and you do an exquisite job of the hand appliqué for sure. So here's another machine stitching.
And this one was based on my little boy's sketch. He gave me a sketch when he was 6. He's now 7.
Sketched this?
Yes, he gave me a little drawing, and he said, this is for you. And I thought, oh, it's really nice, and I thought I'd make a quilt. So I actually adjusted a few of the flowers, and I blew it up.
You tweak it a little bit, but that is amazing.
So this was a quilt for him.
Wonderful. So get that guy harnessed. Who knows what he can do. All right. This one is, again, machine. Beautiful colors, strangely enough. Beautiful.
And this one's called Nocturne. And this is machine appliqué and machine
beautiful.
quilted.
And I love bright colors. So this one I just think is just magnificent. It's really... And what was the story on this?
Actually, I was given a line of fabric by a fabric company, and I was asked to make a quilt for them for display.
Wonderful.
And I had a real challenge because I had so many pieces of colors and I didn't know what to do.
And you just made a kaleidoscope. It really is. It's just I know you've brought a couple of things here, because I think my question is, how do you get all these edges turned under, and how do you get this looking so good? And you said you do have a couple of tricks.
Yes.
So.
I will do a little demo on handwork. When you applique, the first thing you need to do is you want to mark your applique piece with
so
the
that's
marking.
where you're going to turn it under.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the seam line that you mark, and then you pin baste it on the background square.
Okay.
Like so.
All right.
And then the first demo that I'll show you is how to do the outside point of a heart.
Okay.
This point.
If you're going to hand applique this, does it matter where you start? I mean, would you start there or would you start?
I would recommend that you start somewhere close to the point that you want to anchor first, because if you don't do that, if you lose your pin basting, what would happen is the design would shift.
Okay.
So.
And you've got this marked so that you know where that point has to go. Yes. All right.
So I would normally start stitching somewhere close to the outside point.
Right.
And I would keep sewing.
And we're using contrasting thread. You wouldn't necessarily.
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't use a contrasting thread. I would use the thread that matched the applique piece, which is the purple. The purple. Yeah. Okay. So I would start stitching from here to go to the point. When I get to the point, I will take an extra stitch right at the point.
Okay.
That would actually secure your point.
By the way, I love that thimble. That is an amazing piece of jewelry almost. That's just...
Yes, it is.
Yes.
So you would do that.
Okay.
Once you get there, you would remove all the pins. You used to have all these pins.
Yeah. Take the pins out.
Take the pins out. And...
Well, actually, do you cut any seam allowance off or anything? Or you
yes.
Don't?
Actually, I forgot.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering, because there's going to be bulk under there.
Yes, there's going to be bulk under there. Yeah. If you have really, really pointy areas like those
there's going to be some extra bulk.
There's going to be some extra bulk. So to eliminate the bulk, you would open this...
Flip that up.
Yeah. And
trim out.
Trim out this seam allowance to about 1/16 of an inch.
Right. Because you've got lots of stitches to hold it.
Yes. Yeah. So
and then once that's
it's done,
trimmed out, then we can go ahead and try and flip that little corner in.
And then you would pick up your applique piece with your needle.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah.
And then you would pinch your fabric.
Yeah. And I think you said you've already kind of pinched the seam allowance so that it's kind of wanting to go that way. So you kind of just...
You would have to...
You manipulate a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, get in there, you.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. And you've already got that. So now you've just...
There.
Every time on live TV, that's always the trick. It always goes in every time. There we go. Yeah.
There's the point.
Yeah. And now you can carry on across.
Sewing.
Yeah. Right.
So you would want to catch the top.
Just a smidge of that.
Yes. And then push that.
Right. And there we go. We have that corner. Perfectly. So on and so on and so on, because there are little sections like this all over, and that's really how you would do it, is just hold it like that and just keep on. Beautiful work.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, and just keep going. You're obviously on the right track, so thank you so much. And don't you go away, because we've got more stuff coming up. Everybody needs to know how to do some new decorating. What's more boring than a house with the same drapes forever and ever? We've got to just spiff it up. We've got to change. We've got to find out what's new and what's hot. When I need to know, I ask my friend Susan Wells. So thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, great to be here with you.
Yes, and you actually have been in the drapery business for a long time, haven't you?
Right, and now that I'm the decorating coach helping others get that professional look.
So it's not just draperies. We're going to be doing all kinds of things with you on the program. So I'm just delighted, because I think so often we see these things, we say, how can I do this, and what, how does it work? So,
and this is a perfect example.
Like, I'm always worried about draperies, because in the olden days, there's pleating and pinching and blah blah blah.
And these grommet draperies give you the perfect look. They look just as good, better than what pinch pleated draperies used to do. The grommets are the hottest thing in every decorating magazine. And the versatility is even better.
I can see that as long as we've got a rectangle, we hem the edges and hem the bottom.
1.5 times fullness. Hem the sides, and then we can talk about the grommets.
Turn over the top.
And these are perfect if you're sick of those old verticals on patio doors. They open and close and hang beautifully.
Yeah, and they just disappear into nothing.
Yes.
All right, I'm sold. Okay, what do we need?
First of all, we're going to have some grommets. And 2 bags of grommets does an average window, because 1 bag does up to 4 feet, and most windows fall in the 4 to 8 feet.
And there's 10 grommets in a bag.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so, and you need good grommets. I think you mentioned this, is that there are regular grommets, and then there's the the Cadillac of
Some of the
grommets.
fabric stores have some that pop out afterward, and these are the ones right from the custom drapery business, which people can find out through you.
Sure, and when that goes in, that's going to stay.
It's going to do a good job.
Except I think the interesting thing you said, if I want to take that out and change it and put them in another set of drapes, I could do it.
You can reuse them, and some of them look like metal. They're really plastic, so in the bathroom, they're not going to go rusty. They're awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so what do we need to do?
Well, we've got our fabric at 1.5 times fullness. The hems are in. Now, to your right, of course, we've got some drapery header in the fabric store. It's already
It's called drapery header, and you buy it like
yes, 3.5 inches wide, and we're going to do the holes here later.
And that just kind of stabilizes this, does it?
Yeah, it really makes it look nice on top.
Okay.
And of course, the first thing is we're going to press under our fabric 1/2 inch so that we can just lay the header on top, straight stitch.
Straight stitch it. We don't have to stitch it down at the bottom.
Not
here.
at all.
Just across the top.
No, that's right. And then one more press, and now we're ready to measure in for our grommets. The spacing of the grommets is going to be is about 5 inches from grommet to grommet.
Between, but you would want to put one at each end, I would suppose. That's the first thing to make sure.
And you must have an even number of grommets.
Okay, that's good, so that they will all go in and out properly. Yes.
So the spacing is the easiest way is to fold your fabric in half and lay the first grommet down, say just about 1.5 inches in from the edge.
Okay.
And you're going to take a grommet, and you'll take that grommet and lay it on top of the fabric. Draw just to the inside.
Draw the circle so that you know what to cut.
That's right. Now, before you put the grommets in, you'll just measure across 5 inches, draw a circle all the way to the end. The last piece by the fold will be 2.5 inches, and we'll just do the top side first.
Sure.
Because then you're going to cut out your fabric a good 1/4 inch to the outside of your drawing. Don't be nervous. If it's less than 1/4 inch, you're going to have to fix it later.
Okay, but you don't want to go too big. I mean, that's.
But a good 1/4 inch, and the quick way to do it is take your fabric, fold it in half, and it's an easy cut, a good 1/4 inch to the outside.
Okay, so
and
you're
now
making it bigger than this. So you're actually coming in here somewhere.
A good 1/4 inch.
Yeah, okay.
Now we're ready to pop these in, and of course, regular small grommets, you have to.
Yes, you've been talking.
Okay, that's right. You have to have equipment, but these ones you don't. So you can take that one,
Is there a top
Linda.
and a bottom?
This is the bottom here where you have the extra ridges.
Okay.
Put it on the bottom.
Yeah.
And now if you just lay that one on top, Linda, and then just press.
Like the sound
and voila,
of that.
you're done, and you're ready to go.
Done. Yeah,
now,
I like
since
that.
you've already done just the top piece only, once you've got all that in, just
I
lay
can
that
see
down.
that it's just repeat on the bottom.
Yeah, so there you would just draw and just complete that.
This might be a little bit less or a little bit more. You'd have to work that out.
In about approximately 5 inches,
Sure.
and you can have absolutely gorgeous drapes, the hottest thing.
Okay, so you would have hemmed this first. You would have hemmed the bottom, done that, and then you really don't have to hem this. I mean,
No, the grommets hold it in place.
Yes.
And what I love, too, you can get a different look, say, at Christmas time.
Okay.
Now we've got that green drapery behind us, Linda, and you can see that that valance has already had the holes cut out, so why
So
not
let's
at
just
Christmas?
put it on this one. Can I do that? Can I take this one
Sure,
off?
you can just pop that out. It's not going to match, but you sure get the idea.
Yeah.
And that's what's nice about these commercial grommets. It'll hold the extra
So let me
thicknesses.
just get this down and put this on top.
Yeah.
And put that there.
And because there's a lot of thickness, it'll be a little bit thicker to do it, but it can pop. And just push it in, just work at it, and then you'll have that extra fullness, and that'll grip it for the
there.
Christmas
And now
season.
I've got that on top. Or I could put
This is
this
blackout
called?
lining, even better, say for children's rooms. Parents hate that sunny summer weather, and just snap on the blackout lining for the season, and your kids' rooms will be
I thought
perfectly
the
dark.
other thing you said, Susan, I could put this in the middle of my tablecloth for my umbrella outside.
Yes, put the grommet in the middle, and you've got a great grommet tablecloth.
Oh, grommets are the way to go. We love it. Thank you so much
Great to be
for
here.
coming. And, you know, we're out of time. I hate it when we're always out of time, but I got to go. So I hope we've got you inspired. You can do this, too. These draperies look like a piece of cake to me. See you next time on Linda MacPhee's Workshop.
To receive the companion book for this series, send $19.98 to the address on your screen or call 1-888-MacPhee.